The meeting of the Board of Regents of the Texas Tech University System is now called to order. The board will continue in open session and meet as the Committee of the Whole and meeting of the board. Chancellor Mitchell, President Hawkins, President Masachak, President Skovenick, President Lang, and President Rice-Spearman, will you please present your introductions and recognitions?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have several recognitions at a system level that I'd like to present, as well as share one update. We're fortunate to have a strong delegation at both the federal and state level for legislators who support our system as well as each of our institutions. Two of these legislators who are critically important when it comes to this community in Angelo State live right here in San Angelo. Congressman August Pfluger, who represents the 11th District of the state of Texas at the federal level and is currently in Washington, D.C. for a vote, as well as State Representative Drew Darby, who represents District 72 in the Texas House of Representatives and is here with us today. Drew, you want to stand up? Both of these men who grew up and now live in San Angelo with their families have done an excellent job representing this area. They're dedicated supporters and passionate advocates, not just for the San Angelo and ASU communities, but actually for all of our universities across our entire system, as well as for higher education across the entire state. In West Texas, we have to stick together, and that's how we're able to achieve the excellence and success that we have across our system. Our legislators' work is instrumental to everything that we do. As you know, we're heading into a legislative session this next year, and state appropriations currently make up about 25% of our overall operational budget across our system. As I mentioned yesterday, higher education funding is discretionary, which means there's only a certain amount of funds for us that we're constantly working to secure, and all the other institutions of higher education in the state are competing for those same dollars. During the last session, Representative Darby was part of that effort and helped secure funding for our top legislative priorities at each of our universities. Cybersecurity and Artificial Intelligence Center here at ASU, funding for additional higher education initiatives across the entire system, including an additional $380 million for enrollment growth and financial aid, as well as $50 million for research. More than $300 million in funding for priority infrastructure projects across our system, some of which you will see right here on the Angelo State campus. And finally, the authorization and funding of the Rural Veterinarian Incentive Program for a statewide loan repayment program to support veterinarians in rural areas. At the federal level, we appreciate Congressman Pfluger's efforts to advocate for and support Angelo State University as well as all of our institutions, and he was able to bring $4.6 million to this region just recently. Their work is vital to what we do. It's impacting generations of students who become workforce-ready graduates as well as leaders within their communities in our state as well as beyond. And it's more than just the time they spend at the state and the national capitals. Just last week, they helped lead the 18th annual West Texas Legislative Summit right here on the Angelo State University campus. This brings a ton of recognition to everything that we do in West Texas, everything that we do at Angelo State University, and everything that we do at our system. This summit has lawmakers, industry experts, as well as local leaders to showcase the achievements that we have in our system. Governor Greg Abbott and Speaker of the House Dade Phelan both delivered 2 keynote addresses, and a number of our system representatives were there as well doing presentations and leading groups. Please join me in thanking Representative Darby and our entire legislative delegation for their dedication to higher education and their constituents, as well as their support of the Texas Tech University system. And I'm going to remind Drew about how nice I was to him in this presentation when the session begins. Next, I would like to represent...
Am I allowed to defend myself?
No. Go ahead, Drew. Say something.
Okay.
Step up.
Well, first of all, welcome to San Angelo. This is exactly what the relationship is all about. When I made promises on the floor of the Texas House and in committees back in 2007, promising that if they would approve, if my colleagues would approve the transfer of Angelo State University out of the Texas State system into the Texas Tech University system, I made promises and commitments. In effect, I wrote a check. Bob Duncan and I wrote checks, and you've cashed them. We made promises about the autonomy of Angelo State University. We made promises about the Carr Foundation. We made promises about the name of Angelo State University. We made a lot of promises to the folks in this room and to this community and to the alumni base of Angelo State University. And you've kept the faith. And for that, I want to express my profound gratitude. I just met the president of Midwestern State, worked closely with their elected representatives in making that event happen. We kind of laid out a blueprint of success that we had, and we were able to follow that and allowed Midwestern to come into the Texas Tech system. But we're doing it all together. As the chancellor says, we can do a lot more together than we can individually. And for that, I just wanted to express my profound gratitude and thanks to each and every one of you for taking the time to come to San Angelo and Angelo State University. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I would be remiss if I didn't let President Hawkins make some comments about Representative Darby.
Yes, Mr. Chairman and the Regents here, I want to tell you that Representative Darby has been integral to the success here at Angelo State University. Just recently, we received our accreditation for a doctorate in social work, and I will tell you, when working with the Texas Higher Education Board, it was hard to get that done because initially they were going to push that until next fall in 2023, even though it had already been approved. And more importantly, what we needed was the support of the Texas Higher Education Board to push it over the top. Working in the nighttime and some part during the day and talking with Representative Darby, he was the lead in getting the Texas Higher Education Board to get it to where that we got that approved. And we're now the first university in Texas that has both an online and in-person doctorate in social work. So we're very, very proud of that.
Thank you, President Hawkins. My next recognition is for Dr. Julianne Mazachek. As you know, shortly after MSU joined the system last September, we launched a national search to find its next president. Dr. Mazachek began her duties on May 23rd. Regent Steinmetz is part of the search committee that make that happen. Dr. Mazachek has spent the last few months meeting with various stakeholder groups, both on campus and in the community, and she's been acclimating to the Wichita Falls community as well as the MSU Texas campus. Her extensive background in academia, along with her passionate advocacy of the liberal arts and a deep belief in the MSU Texas values-based culture, has positioned her not only to maintain a positive momentum for the university, but also to expand the level of growth and success that we have seen in its 100-year history. She brings a wealth of knowledge and experience to the role, serving more than 3 decades in higher education, because she started when she was 13. And she has brought a new perspective on how to lead MSU and its family into the next chapter and to its bright future. This is her first board meeting in her official capacity, and I ask that you join me in thanking her for all of her hard work and help me welcome her as well as her husband Keith to our system family. We're already seeing the benefits of her leadership, and we look forward to seeing all that the university can achieve under that leadership. Thank you, Dr. Mazachek. And since we're on presidents, this is President Hawkins' second anniversary as the ASU president. He was appointed as the university's 11th president on August 17th of 2020. Under his leadership, ASU has continued to grow and has added remarkable achievements like the one he just mentioned to its record, while also being thoroughly engaged in the San Angelo community through various partnerships and outreach initiatives. Last year, members of the university community began the journey to build a values-based culture at Angelo State University. Together, they've identified and defined a set of shared values and behaviors for the Ram family that you can see posted on the pillars behind you. Angelo State has continued to be recognized as a leader in cybersecurity, and in April, the university was selected by the Texas Department of Information Resources to operate a regional security operations center to provide local governments with their cybersecurity support. The university's aviation program also continues to gain recognition, and last week, as all of you know, Southwest Airlines announced ASU as its university partner in the airline's Destination 225 pilot recruitment program, which will provide ASU commercial aviation students a defined pathway to become competitively qualified for career opportunities at Southwest Airlines. This year marks Angelo State University's 15th year as part of our system, and it's now been almost a year since MSU Texas joined our family as well. The value they bring to our system cannot be overstated. We're so proud of Angelo State, and I want to thank President Hawkins, as well as his wife Maria, as well as the entire ASU team for all the work they did to ensure this university's growth and the success of this meeting. Thank you, President Hawkins. I also would like to give a quick fundraising update. As you know, after I became chancellor, we shifted our philosophy and operations regarding institutional advancement, allowing the component universities to take the lead on direct fundraising. We're now seeing the results of that philosophical and operational shift, and I'm proud to share an update on our system-wide fundraising efforts this year. For fiscal year 2022, we've already raised more than $280 million across the entire Texas Tech University system, with still about a month left to go. The last record year for the system was in 2011, and on that year, Texas Tech raised $183.9 million, of which $90 million was a gift in kind for software. This year marks the highest total to date for fundraising, not only at the system, but also at Texas Tech University, and I think Dr. Skubanek is going to talk about that in just a little bit. But each of our components have had record years with their fundraising. This historic success is a result and thanks to all of the presidents as well as their teams working together, the team at the system led by Patrick Kramer, and the generosity of many of our regents who've provided transformational gifts this year. Thank you for all you do at our institutions and our system as well as the people we serve. Now, if you'll put the slide up, please. As many of you have likely heard, we recently lost a member of the Texas Tech University system family. Jim Brunges, who was the longtime Vice Chancellor and CFO of the Texas Tech University system, passed away on July 30th after a prolonged illness. Jim was 75. It goes without saying, but Jim was a man of high integrity as well as moral character. He served as our system and component institutions for 25 years, from 1991 until 2016, overseeing the financial strength and stability in one of our system's top executive positions. During his tenure, the system received superior credit ratings from 3 of the world's most influential organizations, and it was Jim's expertise that helped to guide the growth of the endowment from $257 million in 1999 to an excess of $1.1 billion by the time of his retirement. His involvement was critical when the creation of our system took place, from when the system was formed in 1996 and formally established by the legislature 3 years later. Most importantly, Jim cared deeply about his colleagues across the system, and he was a champion of the students at all of the institutions. So it's no surprise that his colleagues cared just as deeply about him. As the news of his passing spread, we received feedback from several of those people, and I'd like to share some of those comments with you. Sissy Ward said, "I was honored to work with Jim when I was a regent. Besides being so efficient at his job, he was such a nice human being. With his abilities, integrity, and caring, he made a real difference at Texas Tech and will be greatly missed." Scott Deezer said, "Jim was one of the best, and I am pleased that I had the honor to work with him. He certainly was a great man who always did what was right for Tech. I saw him go through some really rough times, but he was always a true hero." And Christopher Huckabee said, "I am honored to have worked with Jim, the best in the business. He will be missed." Ron Hammond said, "Jim Brunges was a great guy. He worked tirelessly for Texas Tech and improved our financial standing. He also made a regent's life much easier by taking us under his wing and educating us on the complexities of managing the finances of a large and growing institution. His passing is a big loss for Texas Tech and everyone who had the pleasure of knowing him. He will be missed by many." Larry Anders said, "He was one of the finest men I've ever known. He represented and cared for TTU and carried our banners far and wide. He will be deeply missed." And finally, Debbie and John Montfort said, "John and I are grateful to have known and worked with Jim. No finer man and one with a truly good spirit can be found. He will be missed. Our deepest sympathies are with Jim's loving family. We will all miss him dearly." finally, there's one more group that I have to recognize, and that's our roadshow team. This is our fourth meeting that we've had at Angelo State University since they joined our system, and this is the first time in a single calendar year that we've had two roadshow board meetings, in El Paso in February and here now. It goes without saying that none of these things could take place without the great group of people that help make it happen, not just for the meeting, but for all the additional events that we all enjoy when we're at these venues. I want to thank everyone here at Angelo State for being so welcoming, and all the people at the system and at the university levels that make this happen. So would everybody involved in that please stand up or raise your hand? Nobody will do it, but they're all there. Let's give them a round of applause. Mr. Chairman, that concludes my introductions and recognitions.
Hey, Mr. Chairman, can I make a comment? Chancellor, I thought you did a great job for Jim Brunges, but I want to just say something about Jim. I had the pleasure of working with Jim as a student and then over the last decade as a regent. And one of the things about Jim is he really always stayed focused on what he thought was important, which was educating young people. And he never took things personal. He'd get frustrated, but then he'd move on. And more importantly, like to Noel and Kyle, he always mentored others. And I know that he impacted a lot of people out here, but I just want to say we are really, there's kind of a transition of the type of people that are in, it's such a big business today, and he's one of the last of the Mohicans, and I think that we are, should always remember who he was and how he impacted so many other people, and it wasn't personal when he would take approaches to different financial positions, so appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you, Regent. Next, President Hawkins.
Yes, Chairman Lewis and Texas Tech University System Board of Regents, good morning, and please allow me to introduce three new members to the Angelo State University team and a few others who have assumed very important roles here at Angelo State. First, Coach Vinay Patel. Coach Patel is our new men's basketball coach, and he is no stranger to West Texas and to winning championships. His older sister is an ASU alumna and tried to get Coach Patel to come here for his undergraduate degree, but he instead opted for Texas Tech University and graduated with a Bachelor of Science degree in exercise and sports medicine. He then took a hard turn to the dark side and went to West Texas A&M, where he graduated with a Master of Science in sports and exercise science. Coach Patel comes to us from Northwestern Oklahoma State University, where he was the head coach there. He has 17 years overall coaching experience at the NAI and NCAA Division II levels, where he has made it to the Sweet 16 and conference and regional championships, respectively. He has an established, proven track record as a recruiter, and he has already displayed his recruiting acumen here at ASU. Another of his great strengths in coaching includes making sure his players graduate with strong credentials for life after basketball. Please help me welcome Coach Vinay Patel. The second person I will introduce is Ms. Megan Patel, Mrs. Megan Patel, Coach Patel's obvious better half. Megan joins Angelo State as the Assistant Director of Athletic Compliance and Academic Services. Megan has served the past 2 years at Northwestern Oklahoma State University in the capacity of International Student Advisor and most recently as Director of NCAA Athletics Compliance. Megan has an extensive background with intercollegiate athletics, including NCAA Division II and Lone Star Conference coaching. Megan received a bachelor's and master's degree from West Texas A&M in sports and exercise science and sports management. She met Coach Patel while there, and they were both students at WT, and it was the best thing that ever happened to Vinay. They have one son, Jackson, and their family is now firmly entrenched in San Angelo, Texas. Please help me welcome Ms. Megan Patel to Angelo State University. Our next newest member to Angelo State is Dr. Ben Lyon. Dr. Lyon. Dr. Lyon is the Vice President for Student Affairs here. He comes to us by way of Missouri Baptist University, where he was also the Vice President for Student Development and Dean of Students and Title IX Coordinator. Ben is a proven university administrator with 16 years of experience and a record of individual and collaborative success while working in student affairs and enrollment management. He is a demonstrated change agent and has already left a positive indelible mark here at Angelo State University. Ben received his doctorate of education in higher education administration from the University of Alabama. Dr. Lyon and his wife Lori have 2 children, and Lori is a professional in the medical side, and we have already had her connected with Shannon Medical Center before they ever stepped foot in San Angelo. One last note, particularly for Chancellor Mitchell, Dr. Lyon is a student and advocate of Patrick Lachoni's leadership management, and he will be an important part of our Leader Academy here at Angelo State. Dr. Lyon is also a proud soldier in the United States Army National Guard. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Ben Lyon. Next we have Dr. Michael Salisbury. Dr. Salisbury recently served as Dean of the College of Graduate Studies and Research and Interim Dean of the Freshman College. Dr. Topliff then selected him to be the Dean of the Freshman College after an extensive search, and he then picked up the title of Interim Dean of the College of Graduate Studies. Dr. Salisbury is an alum of ASU, having graduated with his bachelor's and master's in animal science and animal breeding, respectively. He has taught in the Ag Department here at ASU since 2001 and was the Department Chair of Agriculture from 2012 to 2019, prior to becoming the Dean of the College of Graduate Studies and Research. His legacy for teaching his students is deep and wide. There is not an ASU Ag grad that I've spoken to that does not mention the positive impact Dr. Salisbury has had on them while they were students here at Angelo State University. Dr. Salisbury now has 2 daughters who are currently attending ASU. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Salisbury to his new position. We also have Dr. David Bixler, who is now the Dean of the College of Graduate Studies and Research Integrity Officer. Again, Dr. Bixler, is no stranger to ASU, having arrived here in 1998 where he was an assistant professor of physics, rising up to Department Chair of Physics and Geosciences. Dr. Topliff recently selected Dr. Bixler as the Dean in June of this year. Dr. Bixler graduated from Tarleton State with his bachelor's in physics and mathematics and both his master's and doctorate in physics from Rice University. I'm not going to try to tell you what the title of his thesis was, but suffice it to say it was very deep. Dr. Bixler has an extensive background in research, and I have no doubt this will help the university and the system at large as ASU moves to increase its posture and focus in research for the benefit of both our students and the faculty. Please join me in welcoming Dr. David Bixler. And then finally, the Chancellor has already recognized some of the folks that have been behind the scenes supporting this effort right here for the Board of Regents meeting here, but I would like to take a special note and recognize Ms. Jessica Manning. Jessica, raising her hand right there, who is the lead for all of our student activities when it comes time for us to be doing this type of work right here. And they have worked tirelessly in the background, not just for the Board of Regents meeting, but for the West Texas legislative session, and also when we did the Southwest Asia announcement. There's nothing that Jessica and her folks will not do, and they do an outstanding job in it. Witness what has taken place here, and I wanted to take this special time to note and thank them for their work and efforts here at ASU. Mr. Chairman, that concludes my announcement.
Thank you, President Hawkins. President Mazichek.
Mr. Chairman, I do not have any introductions today.
Thank you. President Skovany.
Mr. Chairman, being here at Angelo State affords an opportunity that I thought I'd never have, and that is to introduce a very dear friend and a passionate Red Raider, Brene Sheffield. Few people have devoted more love and passion for University of Brene. You may have had the opportunity to have dinner at Zettner's Daughter here. It's a restaurant he and his wife Betty operated for 47 years. Betty is the daughter of John Zettner, who came here from Germany. John did 100 years ago, and 75 years ago, they started a restaurant at a location called Milwaukee. And then Vinay and Betty opened the establishment here in Angelo State 47 years ago. And they closed on New Year's Eve 2019, and I drove down to have the last steak with Vinay. Vinay is one of the most gentle, kind people you'll ever have the chance to meet. And if you were ever in that restaurant, the walls were covered with Texas Tech paraphernalia. There was no doubt where his love and loyalties lay. He was also the past president of the Texas Tech Restaurant Association, but to me, Vinay, what's most impressive is your undying support from Tech. I hear from him almost after every athletic event. He lives and dies with the Red Raiders. And Vinay, I am so pleased to recognize you today. Next, I'd like to recognize our Vice President of Research, Joe Heppert. There were a couple of historical achievements this week that I think Joe deserves a great deal of credit for. On Wednesday, the National Science Foundation announced the establishment of 4 engineering research centers around the United States. One will be at Columbia, one will be at Duke, one will be at Ohio State, and the 4th will be at Texas Tech. And this is the largest federal grant Texas Tech has ever received, $51 million, to fund the Center for Advanced Sustainable and Distributed Fertilizer Production. This is what we've always tried to emphasize as part of our research enterprise. Do things that matter for West Texas, that have benefit for the state and nation, and address global issues. This center, which will be directed by Dr. Jerry Body, who was the chair of chemical engineering at Whitaker College of Engineering, will address issues of nitrogen-based fertilizer production for the purpose of increasing food security, decreasing U.S. dependence on foreign sources, and reducing the environmental impact of agricultural practices as it relates to fertilizer production and use. Our partnering institutions in this project will be MIT, Georgia Tech, Case Western Reserve, and Florida A&M. Many people were involved in this. It's a collaboration of the College of Engineering, Kasner, the Davis College of Agriculture, and Arts and Sciences. But Joe, Jerry, and Provost Ron Hendrick led the effort in putting this together. Joe, we thank you very much. I mentioned 2 things. The other issue, I think, for which Joe should be commended is this past week, Texas Tech went over $195 million in total research expenditures. That's a new record for the university with a month ago in this fiscal year. And since the chancellor mentioned advancement, I want to take this opportunity to thank the chancellor for his leadership in changing the structural organization of advancement. That gave us the autonomy to do a lot of things that we hadn't done in the past. And I should recognize Byron Kennedy. He's in Denver today seeing donors, but under Byron's leadership and his fabulous team, Tech's raised over $225 million this year. That's due to Byron, his leadership, those that work with him, but most of all, the generosity of so many people that support this university, and we're very grateful for that. That concludes my introductions.
Thank you, Dr. Skovanec. President Rice-Spearman.
Good morning. Yesterday, Dr. D'Agostino, our provost, shared with you upon approval of Sherry Sensebrine and Thomas Hale as our Grover E. Murray professors. And as we've talked about, this is the highest distinction offered by our university for individuals who have attained national and international distinction for outstanding research, excellence in scholarship, and creative achievement. Sherry Sensebrine could not be with us today, but we will be honoring both her and Dr. Hale at an induction dinner we will be hosting in the fall. However, Dr. Hale was able to join us today. And I wanted to highlight, of course, Dr. D'Agostino shared with you his extensive CV and what he has accomplished. So Dr. Hale, would you please stand? Dr. Hale came to us from Amarillo, Texas, he and his wife this morning, and a couple of the things that I wanted to point out as far as his impact as a researcher, particularly in pharmacology. First, you heard mention yesterday of Hale's. This is the famous book, 20th edition, printed internationally, and there's not any OB/GYN, pediatrician, or young practitioner that does not have this book and use this book. Also, another distinction, Dr. Hale was very early on in creating a medical app, and it's called Mommy Meds. Mommy Meds was recognized by Good Morning America as the #1 app that every lactating mother must have. I see our Regent's nodding his head, our student Regent, he knows, he's heard this. That app has over 10 million hits and applications. It also became vital during COVID as we were looking at immunizations and COVID and how that impacted lactating mothers as they were taking the immunization. And Dr. Hale and his team, again, became a key area and also had a 24-hour hotline for these mothers to be able to call in and get information about what was happening with COVID. Was it safe for them to be breastfeeding as they were getting immunizations and continue that? We cannot thank Dr. Hale enough for his impact on young women and lactating mothers across the world. So Dr. Hale, we are so honored to have you as a Grover Murray, and thank you for all you've done. And finally, I'd like to wrap up our introductions today by recognizing our team of mental health experts led by Dr. Sarah Wakefield, our chair of psychiatry in Lubbock, who was among the first such professionals to respond to the horrific Uvalde school shooting in May. Team members who participated included Amara Garcia, Michelle Sands, Link Blevins, as well as Dr. Natalie Scannion. They supported our Texas community at large as representatives of our great university. They served the families and children of Uvalde with strength, empathy, flexibility, humility, and grace, and we are so very proud of this team and honored to have them as part of our team. Additionally, Dr. Wakefield testified on mental health and school safety before the House Appropriations Committee on August the 8th and was part of the Uvalde response. Please join me in recognizing the service of Dr. Wakefield and her team and her continued impact in child and adolescent safety across the state of Texas. And that concludes my introductions.
Thank you, Dr. Rice-Spearman. And last but not least, President Lang.
I have no recognitions today. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I may,
Yes.
I did miss one other individual I would like to recognize, if that is okay.
Yes, sir.
I want to recognize Dr. Andrew Tiger. Dr. Tiger, if you could stand, please. Dr. Tiger, who is no stranger to ASU, he graduated from a university on the other side of the Red River, though, with a bachelor's and master's in industrial engineering, and eventually saw the light and came over on the other side of the Red River and graduated from the University of Houston with a PhD in industrial engineering. He has been at Angelo State since June 2018, where he was first the associate professor and department chair in management and marketing, and then the interim dean of the Norris Vincent College of Business starting in February of 2021. In June of this year, Dr. Tiger was selected by Dr. Topliff to be the dean of the Norris Vincent College of Business. He led the college across the finish line last October when they received full accreditation from the Association to Advance Collegiate Schools of Business, AACSB. You might also recall just yesterday the committee led by Regent Carrick Davis approved Dr. Tiger's promotion to professor. One last note, Dr. Tiger's daughter recently graduated from the United States Naval Academy, is now stationed in Norfolk, Virginia. And if you ever want a scratch golfer on your team, you might want to consider Andy. Please welcome Andy Tiger as the Dean of the Norris Vincent College of Business. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. On a personal note, Dr. Hale, I have an 8th grandson as of yesterday. So being the veteran grandfather, I thought I would inform her, the mom, of Mommy Med. And anyway, nevertheless, she had picked that up some time ago. Had no realization that it had anything to do with Texas Tech. But personally, on a personal note, thank you for Mommy Med. With that, the board will continue in open session and meet as a committee of the whole. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the board meetings held on May 5th, 2022.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. We will now consider items as a committee of the whole, and I would like to ask Vice Chairman to preside over the committee of the whole. Mr. Griffin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The item for consideration by the board is ASU, MSU, TTU, TTU-HSC, TTU-HSC El Paso, TTU-USA, and TTUS to approve the consent agenda and acknowledge review of the information agenda. The items for consideration on the consent agenda are items A through Y, as listed on pages 1 through 36 of the agenda book, and the information agenda as listed on pages 37 through 45. Is there any discussion of the items in either the consent or the information agendas? I would remind the board that if there's an item you would like discussed in further detail or voted on separately from the consent agenda, you may request that the item be moved to the committee of the whole agenda. Hearing none, then, Mr. Chairman, I move that the board approve the consent agenda and acknowledge its review of the information agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, this concludes the items to be considered by the committee of the whole at this time.
Thank you, Regent Griffin. Mr. Secretary, please present the schedule of the upcoming board meetings.
Yes, Chairman Lewis. The schedule is listed on page 14 of the agenda book, but this is a quick reminder. Our next meeting is slated for November 17th and 18th as a two-day meeting at this point, subject to change in Lubbock. And next year, we'll be kicking off 2023 with another roadshow meeting in Odessa, hosted by TTU-HSC on that campus. The remaining meeting dates follow in May 4th through 5th, August 10th through 11th, and then November 16th and 17th in 2023. And as has been our practice, we can adjust those dates to one-day meetings as the agenda bears.
Thank you, sir. Next, we'll hear from our student government presidents. Trevor Bills was unable to attend today, but Riley McKinney, the ASU SGA parliamentarian, will present the SGA report for ASU. Riley, please present your report.
Good morning, Board of Regents, and welcome to San Angelo. We are thrilled to have you here at Angelo State University. I am Parliamentarian McKinney from the Angelo State University Student Government Association, presenting on the closing of the 2021-2022 agenda and taking a look forward towards our 2022-2023 initiatives. Pending Senate confirmation, this is our 94th session executive officer team. It is a great team full of experienced members of the Student Government Association, and we are excited to present to you pending the confirmation from our Senate, the 94th session executive officer team. Since the last Board of Regents meeting, we passed 2 more bills to finish out the 93rd session. The chainsaw bill is a proposal for a policy to convert dead trees into additional chainsaw sculptures on campus as opposed to removing them. Currently, we have 4 chainsaw sculptures on campus, which is the Angelo State University symbol by the Meyer Administration Building. We have Dominic by our cafeteria. We have the 10,000 strong Roscoe by the cafeteria, and also the cross next to the Christian Student Center. The next bill was a proposal to restructure and relabel specific parking lots on campus to improve parking clarity and efficiency. The next legislative session will begin in September. We are excited to get back to work and helping our students excel. For our priority projects for this fall semester, we are going to focus, for meeting student basic needs, we are going to focus on Ramtram. Ramtram is our student transportation service, and connecting it to the Concho Valley Transit network will allow our students to connect to over 100 bus stops. Ram Pantry is our student and food pantry as well as other necessities on campus. The cold storage was recently added and installed over the summer, as well as additional shelving to store more dry goods. With Rams Against Drunk Driving, our coalition to focus on ending drunk driving in San Angelo, we are excited to continue the efforts to end drunk driving in San Angelo. We are currently partnering with the local Budweiser distributor to get free Uber and Lyft vouchers after all Greek life events as well as football events. With communication, weekly press releases will be sent to the Rampage, which is our student newspaper, and we will be initiating regular communication between our senators and their department heads/deans to pass on information about what student government is doing, as well as getting feedback from the people we represent. We are also going to continue to be promoting open forum at the Senate meetings. There is a designated portion of the Senate meetings that is reserved for students and staff to bring their questions, comments, and concerns directly to the Senate during our meeting. We want to encourage our students and staff to attend. Are there any questions I can answer for you today? Alrighty. Well, we are excited to represent our students, and we are also looking forward to a great year. Thank you for your time, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening in San Angelo.
Thank you, Riley. Gabby Pettijohn, please present the SGA report for Midwestern State University.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Gabriela Pettijohn. I am a senior economics major with a minor in Spanish at Midwestern State University, and I am proud to represent them as their student body president this year. So this year, one of our primary goals in SGA is actually restructuring the student body organization. Formed on June 10th, we formed a constitutional committee to conduct a comprehensive review and propose updates to our constitution and bylaws. Through that, we are reformatting and expanding our current cabinet positions to include academic affairs and also international affairs, so all students have a representation on our board. Second, we are changing some of our executive names. And finally, we are also adding college senators to our representatives. Other than that, our primary goal for our executive team is to further student rights on campus through purposeful legislation. With that, we hope to include more active student representation in SGA and also get more purposeful legislation for the student body. So this summer, we have already done 2 executive proclamations that demonstrate our support and raise awareness on issues important to the student body through social media. The first one was in response to the recent Uvalde, Texas school shooting tragedy. The proclamation raised awareness of the June 3rd for National Gun Violence Awareness Day in the United States. The second one, we did a proclamation recognizing the importance of celebrating the LGBTQ plus population at MSU Texas and raise awareness of June being designated as Pride Month in the United States and for student government. Finally, for some of our planned projects for the school year, we are currently planning a President Summit for our student body leaders at MSU Texas, as well as increasing fall leadership programming. We are expanding our Feminine Hygiene Product Dispenser Act for women's health to include it in more buildings and increase the reach of feminine hygiene products for all the students. Finally, we're creating a Student Bill of Rights at MSU Texas to increase a culture of unity, as well as increase students' awareness of their rights. Other than that, our executive team is looking forward to this year. We know we want to make a lot of change on campus, and more than anything, represents the students to the best of our ability. For us, it's not just about making change on campus this year, but also investing in the next centennial. Thank you. Are there any questions I can answer for you? All right, well, thank you for this honor.
Thank you, Gabriella. Austin Phillips, the SGA or Texas Tech University, was unable to attend today's meeting. He sent a recorded presentation for their presentation. Would that be?
Will come up in just a minute.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Austin Phillips, and I have the privilege of serving as a student body president at Texas Tech University in Lubbock. I'd like to thank the chair and the rest of the board for allowing me to speak today, and I'd like to thank Angelo State University for hosting us over these 2 days. My apologies for my absence. Like many of my fellow Red Raiders, I spent this summer working an internship. I'm currently in New York City wrapping up my internship, and I look forward to being back in Lubbock very soon, standing in front of you all with another update later this fall. While we had some students taking classes over the summer, many of our students, like myself, spent this summer away from Lubbock, either completing internships, studying abroad, or simply enjoying a relaxing summer break. We are very much looking forward to seeing everyone back on campus in a few short weeks. I'd like to give you an update of what summer 2022 has looked like for us. So in July, we had the opportunity to attend our ASGA National Conference in Orlando, Florida. Through this, we were able to interact with schools from across the country and even spend a day with the student government from our future conference member, University of Central Florida. We were able to share a lot of things about our SGA and learn a little bit about theirs. And I think that we were both able to learn some things from one another that we could potentially implement on our campuses. This August, we celebrated our 2022 commencement ceremony, celebrating one generation of Red Raiders while ushering in the next chapter. Over the summer at Red Raider orientation, we were able to interact with the incoming class of Red Raiders, sharing resources and opportunities that SGA and other organizations and departments offer them throughout their time at Texas Tech. And lastly, as I mentioned, we are extremely excited to have students back on campus for this fall. We have a lot of great things in store for the 2022-23 academic year. We look forward to all that this year is going to bring. I know that I shared some of our ideas and initiatives at our previous meeting, but you can find those again here. If you have any questions, I'd love to go into detail more about those in a more one-on-one setting. And in closing, thank you again for allowing me to present this morning. I'd like to offer my congratulations to our newest student, Regent. I look forward to working alongside you and my fellow presidents on behalf of our students, and look forward to seeing everyone again in person later this fall. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. My email's on this slide, and as always, Reckham.
Okay. Next, Brianna Mendoza, would you please present your report for the Texas Tech University Health Science Center?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. I would just like to start off by saying that everyone I have spoken to yesterday and today has been so incredibly kind. I have been constantly reminded of my why for wanting to be a student of the Texas Tech system for all of my education, starting with my undergraduate degree at Texas Tech and now my medical degree at the Health Sciences Center. So I just want to say thank you to all of you for everything that you do for students. To start off with, we are so excited to welcome new senators this year. We just sent out our intent to run forms August 1st, and we will be accepting those through September 2nd. We will hold elections that following week. We will have our orientation September 17th, and then our first meeting will be on September 20th. Now, moving on to our core initiatives for this year. As you all know, the TTUHSC is spread across many different regional campuses as well as distance education, and we always want to be inclusive of all of our students. So this year, we will be having all of our meetings through Zoom, and we're so excited about this because everyone will be able to engage with each other in one place, regardless of where they are a student. And of course, we will be considering all of our students and all of our campuses and online as we plan fundraisers, social events, and community engagement. Currently, we are in the beginning stages of planning our fall fundraiser, which will be a 5K run walk. We're very excited to provide live and virtual options for this activity. We understand that the day that we plan out for this event may not work with everyone's schedules, but we want to provide everyone with the opportunity to participate. So anyone can run the 5K on their own time, and then they can just submit their time to us, and then we can name the winners. We will also be having our annual t-shirt sales, and we really wanted to include the students in this process this year. So we will also be opening design submissions from our students. So we're really excited to see what they come up with. The Ttuhsc Sga funds 2 scholarships for students. The first is the Phonathon Endowed Scholarship, and the second is the Star Spangled Double T Scholarship. So we really want to try to raise as much money as we can so that we can increase the number of scholarships that we provide our students. And we also want to encourage community engagement from not just our senators, but also our students. So last year, we created a Google Drive with volunteering opportunities for all students in all of our regional campuses, as well as online volunteering opportunities for our distance learners. And so as we go throughout the years, our Community Service Committee can keep adding to the opportunities available on this Google Drive. We also want to increase our social media presence, not because we want to go viral per se, although that would be nice. We want to post some more flyers with ongoing events around our campuses. We actually just posted our first TikTok video on our Instagram last week. So if you do not want to miss out on our content, I have added our handles up there for social media. And this is our executive team for this year. Does anyone have any questions for me? Okay, well, thank you so much.
Next, Georgia Blackwell, would you please present your report for the Texas Tech University Health Science Center at El Paso?
Thank you. Hello, Board of Regents, and good morning. I'm very excited to be here today. I'm sorry I couldn't join you guys last night. I flew in late last night because I had to take my last final, but we're finally here. And with us being a health science center, we kind of spread out over the summer, so I'll just let you know what we've been up to. So this is me. We're very excited to have our student regent be a part of our campus, Hanny. We're very, very proud of him. And also we're excited to announce that the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board student representative also comes from our campus, and it's me. So it's very exciting, and it's been a really great ride so far. It's going to be a fun year. We both went to the student regent training in Austin. We got to meet Governor Abbott and other student regents from across the state. We listened to past student regents, and we listened to ones from the Board of Regents, like Regent Carrick Davis. So I feel like I learned a lot as SGA president and for the coordinating board, and I know Hanny is going to do an excellent job. He is already putting to work what we learned during that day. So this past couple of months, we had finals week and midnight breakfast. So students enjoyed some pet therapy, massages, arts and crafts, and a hot breakfast during last week of classes. And the pancakes didn't start till midnight, so if you were up late studying, we had a nice, delicious meal to keep you going. We also had our SGA and Registered Student Organization Awards Banquet, so we handed out awards to our past SGA Executive Council, Senate, and the Registered Student Organizations. We also recognized some outstanding students, faculty, and staff from each of our 4 schools. So it was really great to come together near the end of the year before our class of 2022 graduated to really recognize all the accomplishments we had from the year. And then we had commencement of 2022, so we filled the state and the country with a lot of really great nursing, graduate, and medical students that are going on in their healthcare journey. So we're very proud of them and excited to see what they're going to be able to give to our state and our community. More recently, we had our immersion, which is our class of 2026 medical and dental schools come together, and they learn about public health, Spanish, and the city of El Paso. So they work together to form public health community assessments, and they get an introduction to the very unique culture of El Paso. And it's one of our largest interprofessional experiences that we experienced throughout our 4 years, so it's very exciting. So in the future, we're going to have our SGA executive team retreat where we're going to learn all of our goals that more specifically we have for the year. We're going to have our new Senate retreat. We're going to have a diversity week in the fall of 2022, a registered student organization orientation, so we're all on the same page, and we're also going to rewrite the Student Service Fee Advisory Committee handbook. So thank you guys. Do you have any questions for me? Thank you.
Thank you, Georgia.
Chairman Lewis, if I may quickly.
Please.
I just want to say how lucky the Texas Tech University system is to have this group of SGA presidents. Had an opportunity to meet with them a few weeks ago. I'm blown away by not only how talented and passionate and collaborative each of y'all are, but the vision that you guys have to improve your respective campuses it's awesome. I look forward to working with all of y'all throughout the year ahead to create positive and sustainable change for the students, faculty, administration, and the communities in which we serve. So looking forward to the year ahead and keep up the great work.
Thank you, sir. The board will now convene an executive session as authorized by sections 551, 071 through 074 and 076 of the Texas Government Code. As a matter of information, I would guess that we will be 45 minutes or so still in the executive session, and when we come out of executive session, we'll have several motions to be acted upon. Thank you.
He did come vote, so.
Good. The board will now convene into open session. Regent Griffin, please present the motions regarding
Thank you, Mr.
the
Chairman.
items discussed in the executive session.
Motion number one is to approve a ground lease of TTU real property. And Mr. Chairman, my motion consists of two parts, including, number one, I move that the Texas Tech University System Board of Regents authorize President Skubanek to finalize and enter a ground lease with the Red Raider Facilities Foundation for the financing, design, redevelopment, construction, and equipping of the south end zone at Jones AT&T Stadium and a new football training facility, and to execute all ancillary agreements and to take all further actions deemed necessary to effect this authorization on terms deemed most beneficial to Texas Tech University. Second part of the motion, I further move that this board finds that the execution of the ground lease supports the public mission of and will serve a public purpose appropriate to the function of Texas Tech University, and the transaction will result in adequate consideration and benefits to Texas Tech University and the state of Texas, all in keeping with the terms and conditions discussed in executive session.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes.
Next motion is to approve a contract extension with the women's basketball head coach. I move that the board authorize President Skubanek or his designee to execute a contract extension with Krista Gerlich to continue as the head coach for women's basketball for Texas Tech University under the terms and conditions set forth in executive session.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Next motion is to approve a contract extension with the TTU Director of Athletics. Having determined that a revised employment agreement with the Director of Athletics for Texas Tech University is in the best interest of the institution and due to the exemplary performance and confidence the Board of Regents has in his leadership, I move that the board authorize President Skubanek or his designee to execute a contract extension with Kirby Hocutt to continue as the Director of Athletics for Texas Tech University under the terms and conditions set forth in executive session.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Next motion is to authorize transaction of real property located in El Paso. I move that the board authorize President Lang to conclude the negotiations and execute the necessary documents for acquisition of real property in El Paso as identified in executive session under the terms and conditions set forth in executive session.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Next motion is to authorize formation of a new police department at TTU HSC El Paso. I move that the board authorize President Lang to execute the necessary documents, actions, and legal and regulatory measures for creating and establishing a separate police department for Texas Tech University Health Sciences Center El Paso under the terms and conditions set forth in executive session.
All those, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
The last motion is to authorize contract modifications for presidential contracts. Having determined that revised employment agreements with the presidents of Texas Tech University Health Sciences Center and Angelo State University are in the best interest of the institutions, and due to the exemplary performance and confidence the Board of Regents has in their leadership, I move that the Chancellor be authorized to conclude the negotiations and execute revised employment agreements with contract extensions for Dr. Lori Rice Spearman and Mr. Ronnie Hawkins Jr. under the terms and conditions set forth in executive session.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes.
There's no more motions to come before the board at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Griffin. Are there any other announcements at this time? There being no further business to come before the board, do I hear a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned.